Hello, Isaac.
Hello, Ryan.
How are you doing?
Super. How are you?
Good. Did the music come back on for? Do you hear the music?
At this very second, no.
Oh, I think I have a window. Yep, I have a window open in my background. That's why I hear the music still. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know how to run a live stream. Anyway,
Thanks for joining us, Chicken Free
so
Cage.
there we go.
And Ryan.
So let's introduce our guest tonight, Ray
Please do.
Billings. How are you doing, Ray?
Hello. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So you heard the music too, so I wasn't crazy.
I did. You were not crazy. Don't worry.
Okay, excellent. So very cool. So we're super excited to have you.
Thank you.
We have you on the show because of a little card game that has
sounds
been
nice.
filling our table, and basically every time we go out to eat, this is what's on the table.
It's a very good pub game for sure. It's a really good convention game. I saw a lot of people
Yes.
playing it at Gen Con because you buy it and then you could just throw it in your bag. So I'm glad to hear that that's working. That's what we intended for it to be a good go out to dinner game. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So we're talking about pressure luck games tonight. So we're going to be talking all about what makes a good pressure luck game. What are some of our favorites? And would we strike it lucky in a casino? I would not. So let's get started. Mr. Question Asker, Isaac, would you like to start us off?
I would love to. When we talk about Press Your Luck, the first thing I thought of was the game show Press Your Luck. So I thought a nice opening intro question. What is your favorite TV game show?
So this is a tricky question for me. I don't watch a lot of TV. And I didn't watch a lot of TV game shows growing up, but the one that was very big in my household was Jeopardy. I count that as a TV game show.
Yeah, for sure.
That was very, very big in my house growing up. My dad was a history professor, and so he was always like, as a kid, I thought like, oh, my dad would win Jeopardy. I was so obsessed with the idea of him going on someday. Hasn't happened yet. There's still time. But yeah, I was a big Jeopardy kid.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember watching a lot of staying with my grandma in the summers, and when she would watch me and stuff, watching what do you call it? Price is Right. But I would say probably my favorite is Password, and they've brought Password back, and I still think it's a really solid game. So it's just a really good game.
I have a fun fact about The Price is Right. My boss actually won a car on The Price is Right when he was like 25. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Love it. Go ahead.
Hollywood Squares and Wheel of Fortune. Yes.
Ooh,
yeah.
So Hank,
classics.
quick question. How do you feel about the new host of Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah, that started today, I think, actually.
Today or yesterday?
I think.
Or today's Monday.
Today. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but yeah, Hollywood Square is a good old-fashioned one.
Yeah.
I love game shows. I am obsessed with a lot of different ones. I love the new stuff. I love the old stuff. I mean, Wheel of Fortune is hard to beat. Price is Right. In our clinic that I work at, I make sure we have Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right. They're all play. But the Wayne Brady's current game show, which is Let's Make a Deal, is so absurd and so fun, and the characters and the people on there are crazy, and I love it. I love the absurdity of the show.
That's always been such a fun one because people are coming dressed in. It always feels like Halloween over there.
Yes, it is 100% a Halloween, just silly, goofy sketches. Yeah. Like I love all the stuff they do. But my modern favorite that I became obsessed with, not just because Mondo was on it, but was The Floor. Like I love The Floor. I love the pressure of it, and like we're just like, I would totally get these, but I loved the.
I struggled.
Don't do well under pressure.
I struggled to like The Floor. I liked it the first couple episodes, but then I started to see some of their strategy to it, like picking out the person that may not know that specific piece of trivia, but it felt so lopsided at times.
If you ran it back with the same people, you wouldn't get the same results because it was very who you lined up against. So I liked it. I thought it was an interesting game.
It's a very interesting like premise. Yeah. So Yep. So Seacrest positive. Seacrest is
Yeah,
most.
I'll give it a Seacrest try.
That's my, a Seacrest try.
I
So
like it. I like it.
there we go.
Our next question: we are in game convention season. The summer is a hot time for them. So, kind of want to talk about conventions. I know Ryan and I have been to one very recently. Ray, I don't know what's been on your schedule, but
Yeah.
what good conventions have you been to in the recent past?
Well, I'm pretty much in the main 3 circuit for the US. I do PAX, Origins, and Gen Con every year. I have just never really done a smaller show, and everyone tells me that I should. I did like the Dice Tower Retreat once, but that wasn't really a convention. I've never done any of like the proper Dice Tower shows, any of like what is it? Like Geekway to the West, any of those. I like as a publisher, I go to shows with my company, and I've never really gone to a show as a consumer. Well, because I'm very Gen Con was working for a publisher, and I've kind of never experienced them in another way, and it's almost become kind of a problem because I kind of don't know how to just go to a show. I like to have a thing I'm doing, right? I like to have like a home base. I like to have people who have to hang out with me because they're my coworkers. So I love Gen Con is my favorite convention. That's nothing new and exciting. Everyone knows what Gen Con is, but that was like the first show I did. Again, I was with a publisher. I was just helping them demo. And this was Gen Con. It must have been either 2018 or 2018 was my first Gen Con. That's when I was like, this is the industry that I want to be in. This is what I want to do. That was the turning point for me was when I discovered Gen Con. But yeah, so I'm going to Essen for the very first time this.
Oh, nice.
Very, very first Essen. We're sending a very small skeleton crew over there because the op doesn't have a massive presence in Europe, but we do like co-booth with a couple of other smaller US-based companies there.
Very cool.
That's like the final big hurdle for me, and I'm very, very excited. And once I do the biggest convention, I kind of want to backtrack. I want to start going to smaller shows. I just I don't know where to start. I like the big 3. I like Origins, PAX, Gen Con. That's like my happy place. That's what I've been up to.
If you like one that's kind of casual, so both Tantrum Con in North Carolina and Southern Fried Gaming Expo. Southern Fried, if you're into more than tabletop, Southern Fried is amazing. Pinball, a full warehouse of pinball and arcades, old school computer gaming, console, every type of console you can think of.
That's pretty sick. I love retro gaming. Is like my outside of board gaming. That's my big collector hobby. So that sounds pretty sick. I could be down for that.
Yeah, that's summer each year in Atlanta. Fly in, just go to it for 3 days and fly back out. So, Jason mentioning name tags. I don't know why it's turned on, but like when I got into Restream today, it was just turned on by default, the names.
That's nice.
So,
snazzy.
It's like an upgrade that we didn't ask for. So.
Thanks, Bob.
But I like the sound of that. I love the idea of there's not a lot of shows that do both tabletop and video games, right? Like I went to one last year that was in Canada that was called like Game Cons Canada or something generic like that. And it was very interesting to see. It was both. It was like a new thing. We're doing video games and board games, and it was a very clear divide. You had your board gamers over here, and you had your video gamers over here. The idea was for them to mingle, and it was like oil and water. There was like a little bit of it. I feel like board gamers wandered over to video games more than video games wandered over to board games, right? I feel like that the overlaps of those hobbies are a little bit different. If you like board games, odds are like you like video games to some degree, but it's not necessarily inherent the other way around. So it was very interesting. I didn't go this year. I wonder if they did better at integrating it, but I went there their first year and I was like, I like what you're trying to do. Not totally surprised that it's not working as intended.
That's interesting that you mentioned that because I see that also at Southern Fried. At Southern Fried, you have two very diverse spaces. You have the board gaming space in one area, walk down the hallway, and then you're in a video gaming space, the arcade space. But it's funny because that one's so divided up because you have the pinball people, like the pinball people who are hardcore pinball addicts, and then you have the video game people, then you have the board gamers. And so like our whole family, we mingle in between all of them. But I've definitely been asked by a video game person, like, what are you guys doing over there? It's like, you're
It's
allowed in this space, right?
well, it's just I think board games intimidate people. It's because it's so communal and it's social. People get scared. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Hi, Matt. Welcome.
Matt.
I do have to make a comment though. When you mentioned that pinball people are intense, I
They
didn't
are.
know that until somewhat recently. I stumbled into the weird world of pinballing on
Ooh.
total accident. My partner and I we went up to Maine to do a little getaway. We went out to a pinball arcade. Again, I love retro gaming. I love old school gaming. I love arcade cabinets. All about that. That's like, I love that. We went there, and it turns out it was the majority of the facility was pinball machines. I don't know. I've played pinball like a couple times. I'm not like crazy about it, but sure. They had signups for a pinball tournament. Partner and I, a little drunk. We were like, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. I'm thinking in my head, like, it's going to be so embarrassing and so funny. We're going to like get out the first round. We're going to have a couple drinks. It's going to be a blast. No. This, I swear to God, we got drafted onto teams. I didn't see my partner for 3 whole hours. We are like going around. You play every machine in this like warehouse. It was insane. We just kept passing each other with our little teams. It was like pinball golf, basically, right? You had a team of 4 people, and your goal was to beat the machine as a collective, like in the fewest, or with the highest point, or with the fewest deaths, whatever. It was something like that. Everyone was going around to play different machines, try to get a high score. And then
that actually sounds really fun.
It was wild, but we were in too deep. By the time I realized what it was, I was like, oh, well, my team's counting on me. It was almost like some sort of like underdog 90s sports movie of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but now I'm really invested in this team and I have to bring us to victory. Anyways, horrible date night. Didn't see my partner at all.
Yeah.
Very wild story.
That's really cool.
One drink too far to be like, what is happening right now? Why is everyone taking this so seriously? So I had no idea that was its own subgroup. Yeah. Learned that in a very fun way.
That's cool. Hey, Mondo. So actually, I got to see Mondo this weekend at One Board Day. This is a one-day convention that our channel hosted in Atlanta, Georgia. It was really fun. It was a lot of work, but it was really fun. So this we had an idea. Like, obviously, we are not Tantrum House. We're not Southern Fried. We just wanted a really cool family-focused gaming day. And what ended up happening was just a room full of people playing a bunch of different games. Everybody just playing with different people. I mean, we saw Catan and Ticket to Ride and Quacks, and people were playing card games all day. We had a hamster. I was telling Ray about it, that we had a hamster roll tournament, had like 14 people in it. And this thing got nuts. Like, people are stressing out and looking at the tables and cheering. We had a bingo tournament, which was amazing. Had 12 participants in that. One of our local guys actually won the tournament. It was a lot of fun. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I love it. So Mondo, we did talk about you behind your back before you got in here. So just FYI, we were talking about game shows.
Yes.
The game shows we enjoy. So we get to do Origins, Weird Origins. Back to you. We all sat down at a table for Gnome Hollow. I was there for about 5 minutes.
I remember that.
But then I went to Gen Con. So I have Gen Con's a work con for me. It's a whole different world, right? And I understand what you're saying. It's a very different world than experiencing it as a consumer.
Yeah.
And I made 2 meetings at Gen Con. Just 2. One of them was Andrew at the op. I had to go meet with Andrew.
You got to be in that second story booth. Do you get some photos
awesome.
and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we got some video. Andrew's one of my favorite people in the board game space, and I just love just catching up with him. And so Gen Con was a big one, but the one that I just came back from last weekend is this one, PAX Prime. So PAX Prime, or PAX West, which is Seattle PAX, or the OG PAX. You talked about board games and video games being smashed together. PAX does it right.
Yeah.
PAX Unplugged is 99.9% board games, but PAX East and West do smash the board games and video games together really well. And for example, there were a ton of people trying to learn Slay the Spire because it was video game adjacent. So they love that. Kess Games was there with like everything video game related that they're currently putting out in dice form. And I got to hang out with Ross over at Atomic Mass, and you saw all these people. They're like, I love Star Wars stuff. I love Marvel stuff in the video game space. Tell me about these card games and mini games. and one of my favorite people. I get to hang out with Fletch and just play some Lorcana and talk
awesome.
about everything he's doing. So it was a great chill con. You don't get to see the tons of people that I know at some of these other conventions, but my son loves the video game space, so we go primarily for the video games.
Yeah.
And then there's a cool kind of interwoven video game, board game world going on at PAX.
I really like what you said about how people were drawn to Slay the Spire, right? Because it was a video game first. I feel like IP games get a bad rap in the proper hobbyist space, but they do a lot of legwork to get people into the hobby, to pull people over from video games into board games, and just like general people, like nerds, just people who would like the hobby but just don't know where to start. IP games, I mean, I'm biased because we make a lot of them here at the Op, but like they get a bad rap in general, but they're such a good gateway tool to making the hobby feel more approachable for people.
Yep.
Well, and the Op has probably been one of the like drivers of that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like Thanos Rising is a game that I have tons of friends that will borrow
Yeah.
because they love the Marvel IP and they're like, this game's really fun.
Yeah, the Rising games and the co-op deck building.
I would say the Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Harry Potter,
Friday
the Toy
13th.
Story, and very soon Avatar: The Last Airbender series do a great. The number of like DMs and posts I see from accounts that are clearly not like board game media accounts that are just playing those games makes me so happy because
it's so cool.
It's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, lots of good conventions. We've been spending a lot of time at a lot of good ones this year. Today, though, we are discussing push your luck games. So when it comes to a push your luck game, what really makes it shine to you?
I mean, it's a lot of factors for me. I feel like the number one thing for me for a push your luck game is it has to be fun to lose. I mean, in general, I don't like to play with sore losers, but if that feeling of losing a push your luck game, like there's a way to do it in a way that's fun and there's a way to do it in a way that's not fun, if you know what I mean. Like it has to be, the game itself has to be designed to be short and low stakes enough, or just like some other mechanic needs to be in play where you want to push your luck. You're not so scared of pushing your luck that you just don't do it. I think it's a good balance of risk versus reward, but also risk versus punishment. That sets the tone for a push your luck game in a way that I think is really important. A couple of the games that I'm going to talk about later, I can talk about sort of the differences. I mean, one of them is going to obviously be Quacks, not to spoil, but Quacks is like the iconic push your luck game.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about Quacks is that exploding in Quacks, which is when if you don't know what Quacks is, it's a game where you're trying to brew potions. And if you pull the wrong ingredients out of your bag, your potion can explode. Exploding is bad in Quacks. However, it's not the end of the world. You don't lose the game. I mean, typically I will always take points versus buying cards, like buying more chips or whatever. But like, it sucks. You don't get to go buy stuff, but it's not going to ruin your game. And it creates a game that's really chaotic and fun, right? Versus other games that I'll talk about on my list that are much more punishing, and it creates a much more tense atmosphere. So both of those are valid. Your game just has to know which one it's trying to do. Do you want a game where people are constantly busting and losing, or do you want this really tense game where everyone's kind of skirting the edge and a little scared to keep going? I think that's important, having a game that knows which identity it's going for.
That's true.
Are the big ones for me. And yeah, I think it has to be kind of like low stakes and fun. Those are the push your luck games that I enjoy the most because, again, you want to be playing a game where pushing your luck is a thing that people want to do. And if it's a 7-hour game, no one's going to do that. It has to be in the right package, right? It's a hard mechanic to get right in a way that doesn't feel unfair. Like losing and busting or whatever it is has to be mitigated in a way that is fun for people.
Yeah, that's true. I think the big reward part is a big one for me. A really good push your luck game should make you feel like, oh well, I can't not do this, you know. And I think about some of the pressure luck games where you get to a certain threshold and you say, yes, I'm gonna lose all these points, but if this one card, if this one die roll, if this one thing happens, the what's going to come next is insurmountable and it's going to put me out in front. And so I like that. I like that a lot when everybody's rooting for you and against you at the same time as you're doing something, because people want to see it happen, but they don't necessarily want you to do it.
No, 100%. It's also that like being on the edge of your seat, right? I think that uncertainty, is kind of an obvious answer, but it's really important. The odds that you're playing against have to be understandable, right? But you don't want them to be too calculable, right? You want it to feel like I don't quite know what's left in my bag, or I don't quite know the odds of this. It doesn't feel so ridiculous and unfair that I could never have predicted what's going to happen. But you don't want something that's like too card county, because that's also not fun. You want to have that edge of your seat feeling. At least I do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, everything obviously you guys said nails it in, but I think for push your luck or press your luck, there's an aspect of luck that has to work its way in that I have to be okay with. And I know a lot of gamers aren't big fans of luck-based games, and there's discussion about that all over the place. But I love pushing with luck. I love a little press your luck, push your luck, because it's in the title. I want to roll some dice and see what happens, and not be, like you said, 100% sure that I've mathed this out, that I know what the
right. That's never fun.
Yeah. And there's a small component of that to some of these games, and heck, the one we're going to talk about in a second, there is a paying attention to what's come out and what hasn't come out. But to sit there and calculate it out, it doesn't really work out easy that way.
Right. If you're able to say like perfectly, I have an 11% chance or something, then that's not. It has to sort of be a game where it's not worth card counting, or it doesn't like make sense to sit there and do the odds,
And I do like the fact that a lot of things like bag building games and stuff, they don't they tell you that you're not allowed to look and see, because you have to keep that stuff in mind. You have to say, I've invested in these things, and you can't just look in the bag and be like, oh well, this is what I have, So.
Yeah, I use Quacks to introduce people to board games a lot, and that's always the first question like a non-gamer will ask me, like, can I look in my bag? I'm like, no, of course you can't. No, absolutely not.
Quack's got a lot of fun. Quack's got a lot of play this weekend at One Board Day. I was very happy to see that. So multiple games of Quacks. So
I love it. So when we talk about pushing your luck, would you say you're more of a risk taker or risk averse person? So if we're playing, what is it? It just completely blanked, the dial game. We're
Wavelength.
Wavelength, yeah. So if we're Wavelength, and there we go. Thank you.
I have all the games here because I have half of my collection on my floor.
So risk averse or risk taker, where would you say?
In real life, I'm extremely risk averse, but in board games, I'm a big risk taker. It's one of the. It's why I like can't play push your luck games that much, because I'm absolutely god awful at them. It is addicting to me. I can't not know. I can't not go out in a blaze of glory. So I'm a big risk taker in board games specifically.
Okay.
That's fair.
I'm very conservative when I play. The only time that I'm, and that's the thing, I've got that slow and steady wins the race mentality a lot of times. That's why I'll be sitting in the back, and actually the last time we played Quacks, we played with shout out to Ashley and James, my sister, my wife's cousin. They came out and we introduced them to Quacks a couple weeks ago. Nice. And I'm sitting in the back and I know I'm losing. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I just was steady. And then that last round, everybody busted, pushing me to the front. And so I'm very conservative when I play, but if I get in a situation where I'm like, hey, I'm going to run ahead and nobody can catch me if I flip out this card, I'm probably going to take it. If I'm put up against the wall like that, I'll risk it. So
love it.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for joining us. Risk. Yeah, I'm not playing Risk. Somebody said just play Risk.
Just play Risk.
That was a point.
It's
in my
Justin. Okay, it's Justin. I used to play Risk with Justin a lot back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day, that was a game we all played.
That's awesome. There was an apple pie, McDonald's apple pie treaty that is classic, where somebody stormed off and slammed the door and lost in a blaze of glory. It was wonderful.
Yikes.
Glenn, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I am a big risk taker. I will push and push and push. In fact, one game I didn't even have on my list, I just was thinking about as we're like talking through this. I don't know if anybody has it. It's the Eagle Griffin game. Anybody include an Eagle Griffin?
Oh, Don't Stop, Can't Stop?
No. Oh, I got that one on my list. No, Ink and Gold.
Inking Gold.
I've
Okay.
whenever I tell people how much I love the mechanic of push your luck, everyone says play Inking Gold, and I just don't know. I just haven't played it yet. Everyone says it's
really
great.
good.
Yeah.
Really
I
good.
stay until the very last second.
Good for
in
you.
Goal.
As you should. As is your
everybody,
right.
so good.
everybody else runs off. I'm like, one more card, and sometimes win in a blaze of glory, and sometimes not so much.
No, Inking
That
Gold
one's-
is solid.
and it plays like up to 10 people. It's
Yeah.
great. It's super, super tense at the table. We play on BGA sometimes.
Yeah.
It's great on BGA.
I didn't know it was on BGA.
Yeah,
That's
it's on
what I'll
BGA.
do.
It's really
That's
good.
what I'll do. I'll play it on BGA so I can see what everyone's talking about.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all the way to the end. Keep roll until I crap
yeah.
out or get what I get.
We got risk chat in the we got risk chat going on. So don't take the easy way out. You need to play World Domination. And then Glenn with Risk is canonized in my friend group. Marriage was in trouble after a famous. Oh no! Oh, I have an interesting story about Blue Lagoon, the Reiner Knizia game.
Oh yeah.
Blue Lagoon almost caused a fight in a very close married couple. I was like, "Woof!" This one.
Isn't that the worst? Isn't that the worst? Like oh man, so my partner and I will always we'll bicker in games, but in a fun way. It's always the way 100%. That energy is sucked out of a room when someone I'm like, oh, you're being for real right
you're
now.
When it's for real.
It's in the unspoken. Like my partner and I, we will scream at each other, but it's very understood amongst our friends. Like we're just joking. This is just how I don't want to just sit there and play my solitaire game. I want to interact with you, and if I think you screwed me over, I'm going to tell it to you 2 inches from your face. That's what I'm going to do when I play board games. But I've had that experience where you play, but it's understood that it's a joke. It's hard to articulate, but there is a vibe, especially with couples where you're like, oh, is this? Are you not having fun? Are we not having We're not having a laugh? Oh, it's the worst. The energy just
it's a lot of the body, language.
Someone will get tense. Yeah. Oh no. I'm sweating thinking about it. I always host board game night. I'm always the host, and there's no worse feeling than when people you've invited over to have a fun time are stressing over a board game. Oh, it's the worst. Oh,
that's why I won't play. What's the card game? The Deception.
The Resistance or Coup.
That's why I won't play the Resistance. We had a couple.
Some people be for real in that game, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
We're sitting around the table, and the one says to the other, she says, "Are you lying to me in our marriage right now?" And I'm like, "Oh no!
Oh
no!"
See, that's something I say to my partner as a joke.
It's like that's not how this was supposed to go.
So can no longer play Monopoly, Stratego, or Munchkin forever on the banned list.
It's not a bad banned list.
I mean, Munchkin got me into this hobby, but it gets
it did
real
fast.
Totally.
It can definitely get there.
That's oof.
Hank is spot on. Yeah, that one's
cashing guns with married people. That is true.
Yep.
That's true.
Blame with fire.
Too.
It's rough.
This might need to be a topic, Ryan. We might need to do a
marriage-ending board games.
Games that cause conflict.
We could become a therapy show.
Oh yeah, you really do. One of my favorite things about board games is you really do see people's true personalities come out. If you play board games with someone long enough, you can't. If you're competitive, you can't hide that forever. I love to see people's. I mean, sometimes it is uncomfortable, right? But it is. You sit around a table with someone for that many hours doing something, you can really get to know someone, which is interesting. Not always a good thing, but at least an interesting thing.
Absolutely. So
our last push your luck related question has to do with where a lot of people find themselves pushing their lucks. That's in a casino. So I don't know if you go to casinos, I don't know if you enjoy them, but if you had to pick one, which casino game would you go to?
Listen, I have not set foot in a casino since Gamma moved out of Reno, and I'm not upset about that. I'm happy to never go to a casino ever again. But I did grow up on poker. So poker would be my answer for counting that as an option. Sure. I'd probably go Texas Hold'em specifically. My older brother was a professional poker player for most of my childhood. So that was like probably, if we're counting poker as a game, as a board game, probably the first board game I learned was Texas Hold'em when I was like 7.
Okay.
So I'm not particularly good at it, but if I had to pick something, especially because there's some skill, there is some calculated skill involved. It's not just purely let me roll the dice on my money. That's the table you'd find me at.
Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like slots are my thing.
Yeah.
I don't go to casinos, but I feel like I could easily just pump quarters and pull levers, pump quarters and pull levers.
You and all the other 80-year-olds just
I
sitting
know,
there. That was what it was like at
exactly
Gary.
right.
You'd have to walk by the half a dozen 80-year-olds just playing slots.
Slowly dying and hoping.
God, you could not catch me dead at a slot machine. It's so depressing.
But I will say that, Ray, you brought up learning a game at an early age. I remember teaching my next door neighbors, Patty and Kathy. Shout out to Patty and Kathy. I taught them how to play 21, and so we're playing blackjack. One of my earliest memories of playing cards with friends is sitting there playing 21 at their bar area, and we're using pennies. And like
cute.
the parents are like, "What are you guys doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" It's like, this game. It's called 21. Have you ever heard of it? It's like, yeah, of course. Are you gambling in the house? So
it's called blackjack. What are you doing? Blackjack's a good choice, though. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, so the only video like you talked about, like a casino roulette, or not? I'm sorry. You talked about a slot machine. The only type of those machines my wife and I would play are like the blackjack or poker machines. So like the digital ones, because it feels less intimidating than being at a table.
Yeah, totally.
But I love a roulette table. Like I love just again, it's that risk taking. like I'm not gonna put a bunch of money on 47 and hope it hits, but like I'll put a little bit on red and a little bit on odd, and we'll see what happens, and I'll just keep rolling that for as long as I can. And I love the tension of a roulette table. So craps is too much. Like I've tried to get around craps table. Craps. There's just so much going on, so many side bets and so much stuff. Roulette's pretty straightforward. What do you think is going to hit? Put some money on it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But again, do I find myself in a casino? I do not. We go to Vegas. We go for the shows. We go to visit family. Actually, is what we mainly go there for. But yeah, it's not my first choice of places to hang out. But there are some games that have really moved into some card games, some board games that have taken something that exists in a casino and done it really, really well, right? Yeah. And speaking of that, let's talk about a game that does something like 21 or blackjack really, really well. Ray, you want to tell us a little bit about Flip 7 and just kind of your role at the op and kind of what's going on there?
Yeah, totally. So, so I work for the op. I am their digital content specialist. So I do all of our social media and all of our short form video mainly. And we released 3 games at Gen Con. We see a couple of them behind y'all. Gnome Hollow was the big one. Stock Exchange was the other one that was at that big double-decker booth. And then the sleeper hit of Gen Con was Flip 7. It was 100%. Not at that main booth that we had at the hall, but we wanted to kind of do sort of like a guerrilla marketing campaign, right? Just we gave out I think we gave out like 3,000 copies of those little card decks just for free at Gen Con, just to see if you got it in your hands, if you liked it. And I think I was talking about this at the beginning of the show. I could not go to like a bar at Gen Con without seeing someone playing Flip 7 just at a table. And that was, as a marketer, ooh, baby, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to see. So yeah, in short, Flip 7 is kind of like a blackjack-esque. It's a simplified, if you want that feeling of playing a poker game or playing a blackjack game or some sort of casino game, this is a really simple, really easy, small footprint way to play that. It is a push your luck card game where it's a deck of cards. And the special thing about this deck is it has 1-1, 2-2s, 3-3s, all the way up to, I believe, 12 12s. And all you're going to do is one player is going to be the dealer, and they're going to go around the table dealing cards. And you can decide to hit or stay. If you hit, you get dealt another card. That's great because you add up the number value of cards in front of you is going to be your score. So if you have a 9 and a 4 at the end of the round, bada bing, that's 13 points. Congratulations. However, if you ever get dealt a duplicate card, so if you get dealt a second 9 on that third hit, you are out of the round and you bust. Exactly, just like that. And remember those odds of if you have the 1 in front of you, great. You're never going to bust with that 1 because you have the only 1 in the deck. But if you have a 12 in front of you, there are 11 other 12s in the deck. So it's a fun risk reward. Of those higher numbered cards are good to get because you get more points faster, but it increases your risk of busting. There's also a couple of fun power cards that I really like. There's a freeze where you can pause someone and put them out of the game. There's second chance, which does exactly what it sounds like. It just gives you a buffer if you ever do bust. If you have a second chance in front of you, you get to go again. And flip 3 is my favorite. It's very aggressive. If you get dealt a flip 3, you get to play it on someone. It can be yourself, but typically it's fun to play it on someone else and force them to immediately flip 3 cards, thus increasing their chances of busting. However, it's very funny when they don't bust and you just gave them a ton of points. Love it when that happens. It's just a super quick and easy push your luck game. You're trying to race to 200 points. And yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier about like, yes, in theory, you can count cards, but it's short and fast enough that if you're counting cards in flip 7, I'm kicking you out of my table. It's just supposed to give you like the vibe of like, oh, if I have a 12, that's riskier than a 4, but no one's going to actually really sit there and do the odds. And at the end of the day, you're just flipping a card anyway, so you got to just send it if you want to. But yeah, that's Flip 7 that released at Gen Con. We've been getting a ton of positive feedback from this game, especially
really good.
Given how much marketing we put into Gnome Hollow and Stock Exchange. It was really, really cool to just see this game sort of stand on its own. It doesn't do anything magically revolutionary, but boy, does it do what it does just really, really well. It's just a really great, quick push your luck game.
Yep. Quick question from Chad Elkins over 25th
Hello,
Century.
Chad Elkins.
Love Chad.
We do love Chad.
Will the small box version be available, or is that Gen Con only?
Yes, so that was a Gen Con promo. The actual box is a little bit bigger than that.
It says promotional.
Yes, I'm going to say put a pin in that. As of right now, no, you cannot buy that small box version. I don't think I can say anything more than that.
My brother went looking
people like the small box a lot, is all I'll say. We have heard people say that they prefer that smaller footprint, so there may be an update on that in the future, but right now, retail box is bigger than that, and it's all you can get right now.
That is a good thing to note, though, because we have been playing this for a couple weeks. It would be nice to get a different box, because this one looks like somebody spilled spaghetti in it. I don't know how. It happened prior to me getting it. But this small box, I bust this out at dinner, and we play it, and people are asking me where can they get it. And then they call me when they're at Barnes & Noble, and they're like, Ryan, where is this? And I'm like, look for a bigger box, and they're like, where? And I
let me actually
them.
I have it on my shelf here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can grab
I've
it.
had that happen twice.
Spaghetti.
This is the retail
spaghetti
box.
On that for you?
Let me put my headphones. Yeah, that what Ryan is holding right now is the promo pack, and that again, that's the version we were just sort of giving out at Gen Con.
Chocolate in it.
This is the retail box. She's obviously bigger. She's shinier. She looks nicer on a shelf. But we have heard people say that they like that small tuck box. So there may be an update on that at some point. But right now, if you do walk into Barnes & Noble's, this is what you are looking for. And it's a standard deck of cards, so you can always swap it out if you have like a
it works in a
have
deck
a tuck box.
Fine.
Yeah.
If
that's really important to you, you can do something like that.
Yeah.
I love mine. I've given away all of the cards out of it with the QR code.
So glad.
Absolutely love it. And
so
I remember Andrew showed it to me, and it was that first day I met with him, and we headed back. We had an Airbnb at Gen Con. And I was like, let me try and teach this guys. It looks really easy. Andrew said it was awesome, and I think we had 8 or 9 people at the table, and we were.
That's a good number too.
Oh man,
you can play with as many people as you want. It's perfect.
We were screaming, we were hooting and hollering, like it was hilarious, and I was like, oh my gosh, the suspense of this game is palpable, and I loved it so much.
So for one board day this weekend, we had volunteers and VIPs meet us for dinner on Friday night so that we can have some time with them.
And I love that.
Flip 7 was on the table the whole time. So we're sitting there at this barcade, and we put Flip 7 on the table. We play it again. It was so much fun. So
God, that's so good to hear. I'm genuinely so happy to hear that y'all like it. I love what you said about how people yell. I joke all the time that my favorite board game mechanic is screaming. I love any game that gives me an excuse to just yell about something. Love it. Flip 7 really does have that table presence, not in the sense of the components, but in the sense of you hear those people over there and you want to know what they're playing.
Yeah. What the heck is that? That
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
amazing.
Love
And
that.
it sounds amazing. Gets people
Yeah.
to the table for sure.
Totally.
Yep. Cool. So let's talk about some other wonderful games that you all are releasing or have released.
Sure.
Gnome Hollow right up here.
Yep.
Our review goes later this week. Really cool game. Reminds people a lot of Carcassonne. I taught it again this weekend. People really enjoyed it. I think the back and forth. It's so funny because that game kind of ramps up a little.
Oh yeah.
As you get going, it's kind of the slow process of getting the. You're creating these floral circles that have mushrooms. You're collecting mushrooms. When you finish the circle, you're taking the mushrooms to the pinwheel market and selling them. And what I like about it is how different it plays from 2, 3, and 4 players.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So Ray, you and myself and Aaron played it at 3 players at Origins.
Yeah.
Loved it. I played it at 2 players a couple times, and it just feels a lot more free, and you have more space, and it doesn't feel as intense.
Sure.
And then at 4 players, if you're not getting the spots that you need,
Yeah.
you just want to go punch a gnome. You know, it's like, I will hit you, son, with your pointy shoes. So.
Yes, that's a really good point. I love the ramp up in that game. One of my favorite things, just as someone who teaches a lot of games, right? A lot of demoing at conventions. I love games that have that ramp up. I think I did this in my demo for you guys. I was like, let's just start by drafting 2 tiles. That's literally all you need to know to get started. And then we introduce selling mushrooms and how the pinwheel market works. And then we talk about the signposts. Then we talk about the wildflowers. I love games, especially for a game that is a self-described gateway game, like we hope Gnome Hollow is. It really works when you have sort of that built-in teach ramp up, where for the first 2 rounds, you don't need to worry about wildflowers. They're not relevant yet. I love, just as someone who teaches a lot of games, having that built-in teach structure into the game itself.
Right.
But yeah, that was Ammon Anderson's big debut game that we published. We had this beautiful gnome themed booth at Gen Con. We got just the most insane reception for that game. The op, I don't know how much you guys know about the history of the op, but this is like our first big non-licensed hobby games. There have been other ones, but this is like the we're going all out for Gnome Hollow. So we brought what for us was a large quantity of a non-licensed hobby game to Gen Con. We brought an amount of Gnome Hollow that we're like, boy, if we sell this at Gen Con, boy, howdy, it'll be a success. Yeah. Sold out in like 3 hours. Thank God we have a warehouse in Indianapolis. We were doing shifts in people's little sedans, going back and forth to the warehouse to get thousands more copies to bring back. And then we still sold that out by Sunday. So it was just
crazy.
A truly overwhelming. I mean, part of it is Gnome Hollow is great. It's the perfect family gateway game. Part of it is just I think we did a fantastic job marketing it. And then also Ammon Anderson is just like my dream in a designer. He's such a charismatic. He had done so much groundwork meeting people and talking about this game for years before we even picked it up. So folks who were in the industry had been hearing about it for a long time. It was the talk of the town at Gamma a couple of years ago. A bunch of publishers were fighting over it. So it was this perfect storm of a lot of really good things coming together. And we're really happy, really excited. It's awesome. A nice pivot into the hobby space for the op. It's a really exciting time to be with the company, because I hope we get to do more stuff like that. Because I love a good lightweight Euro. So yeah, hopefully you get to see more from us.
And next year's looks amazing.
Oh yeah.
I get to see that.
Before we move on to our pick 5, do you have anything that like people would be super interested in? You mentioned earlier Avatar. Avatar game is coming. Anything else that you could announce going into the last half of this year?
Anything else I can announce? Oh boy, sorry, I wasn't prepared for that question.
Sorry,
No, it's okay.
The Avatar game is a great. The Avatar one's a great one to talk about.
Avatar is very exciting. Avatar is technically releasing next week. Check your local game store though. They may have early copies. Just if you want to get it like now, go ask your local game store. There's a chance they already have it. We are doing a release of Wonky in a few weeks, which is a fun dexterity
tower building thing. Yep.
And that's pretty much it. Gen Con's the big final push for us, and then we go into the holiday season, and it's a lot of like our lighter party family games. We released Da 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 right before Gen Con. Fantastic. It's a fun cooperative language building party game. Again, if you like people screaming at each other, oh boy, it's a good one for that. It got overshadowed by all the other Gen Con releases, but
I saw that actually Pat, shout out to Pat, came to One Board Day actually.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, because he's local, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I taught Seaside.
Nice, good choice.
So it was, but I didn't realize that was Pat. I was teaching him Seaside, and we're talking, and I saw Da Da Da, and I didn't put it together until I walked away from the table. I was like, I probably should have introduced myself.
Oh, don't worry. There's no way that was more embarrassing than what happened to me at Gen Con with Da Da Da. Oh. We make so many board games that I cannot always keep up with the designers of who all those games are. And so I walk up to a table that's playing Da 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 at Gen Con, and I go, how'd you like Da Da Da? And they were like, turns out it's a pretty good game. And I went, yeah, actually, I quite like it. I just made small talk. And then I walked away and I was like, wait a minute, that was a weird response they gave me. Turns out it's a good game, like in a sarcastic tone. Yeah. And I put it together over the next couple days. That was the designer. That was the designer. And I biffed it. I totally biffed it. I just was in convention mindset where I was like, oh, how'd you like it?
Yeah, you're just rolling.
Didn't even clock it.
And
so,
glad you said you
liked it.
Right?
Thank God, right?
Yeah.
I do genuinely like it.
It's one of our weaker titles. I don't know.
Gosh, I'm sweating again.
And you have blank timeline. You have Blank Slate Challenge coming up here pretty soon too, right?
Yes, Blank Slate Challenge is already in retail. That is just a spiritual successor to Blank Slate, where you can play in two. Talking about couples yelling at each other. Oh boy, Blank Slate Challenge is great for that. Basically, it's either a 2-person or a 4-person way to play Blank Slate. So those lower player counts that are sometimes kind of hard for traditional Blank Slate. 2-person is just cooperative. You try to get your high score of matching each other. And then there's a team-based mode where you and another person are trying to compete against another pair of people.
I like that.
I think it's really great for a couples game night. I love Blank Slate Challenge. I think it's a great addition to that lineup. Cool. People have been saying they want a lower player count of that game for a while. So that's what we came up with.
Very cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's go into this pick 5. We got 10 minutes left to get through our pick 5. What is our pick 5, Isaac? Present it, and we'll do the fake graphic. Or I'll say.
What do you mean a fake graphic? Do you not have the actual graphic?
You're going to show the stupid graphic again.
I'm going to try and.
There's a stupid graphic.
So
I love a stupid graphic.
It was like 6 months ago. I was supposed to make a graphic for this portion of the.
I made a new one.
You made a new one?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to share. I don't know why it won't.
I can't wait.
Why it won't share it? Is it sharing it right now?
No, I don't see it.
Oh, so essentially, the game chat presents pick 5 while I'm working on this is our way of picking 5 games. They are not the best 5 games. They're not the only 5 games. They're just 5 games that there it is, that have to do with push your luck. There you go, Ron.
Am I going to hate it? Yep, I hate it.
Oh, wow.
I added Halloween spooky stuff for you.
Oh, no. What is happening? It's me at a Michael's.
Yep, with the boo.
And at like the 130-degree angle.
Yeah, it's stretched out. That's good.
Official sponsored, unofficial sponsored 25th Century.
Oh my goodness,
I left the turkey.
The turkey's nostalgic at this moment.
Yeah, all right, that's it of that one. But anyway, game chat.
Wow.
Pick 5. We're just going to pick 5 games that have to do with push your luck that you enjoy. You don't have to get super detailed, but you can share a little bit about why that game is such a good game.
Yep.
All right. Am I kicking
it off? So you
start
start us off. Yep.
Please do. One at a time.
All right. Well, one at a time. Okay, well, the first 2 were not very exciting because I kind of already talked to them. I picked Flip 7 as my first one because I couldn't think of something else. Good one. Then I have Quacks of Quedlingburg, which is one of like my top 10 games of all time, not just top 10 push your luck games. This is a classic. If you don't have this in your collection, it is a
Quacks is so good.
Bag building game. Yep. Ooh, so good. Then I have Deep Sea.
Just one game at a time.
Yep.
Oh, I'm messing it up.
No, I didn't mean one person. I meant one game.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I'm gonna go with my first pick,
I
Chicken,
ruined
right
it.
here.
Yeah, you're fine.
Right there.
Oh, great
Chicken
game.
from this one's fun. This is you're rolling dice and you're hatching eggs, getting new dice, and the new dice have different odds. I like this one a lot. It is one of the few games where a 3-year-old can beat an entire table of grown adults who have
Love
gamed
that.
for the majority of their life.
That's
Love it.
grown on me. We've talked about that. I did not love that the first time
You
I played
didn't?
it.
Oh, okay.
But
I
I
love the packaging
really,
on that
really,
one
oh,
too.
packaging
Yeah.
is amazing.
It's
Yeah.
got
And
a cloth
it's
board,
got a
right?
cloth
Yeah.
board, yeah.
Cloth board,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the tubular design as well. I'm gonna go a little old school
Zombie
Classic.
dice.
Steve
Yeah.
Jackson game, Zombie Dice. 'Tis the season. It's coming out with my
Yeah.
spooky games. Zombie Dice is a great, easy push your luck. It's got a myriad of different. There's a Batman one that's really good too.
I like the Batman one. You get a special
Abilities.
power. Yeah.
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 But yeah, Zombie Dice, classic.
That's awesome. So
Game
I'm gonna
number
go
2.
Quacks of
Oh, I love it. Good choice.
Surprise! Yeah.
Deja vu.
Yeah.
nice. Quacks is so good, and it's so funny because I want to try Quacks Duel just to see what they're doing different. So
There's Quacks Duel?
yes.
Quacks
Do you
Duel.
not know about Quacks?
I
Quacks
don't know.
Duel
Is that new?
Yes, it's 2-player Quacks.
Also, please feel
Fascinating.
free to share any of your choices in the chat on
Yes.
Push Your Luck games you enjoy. Mondo gave me a thumbs up for Zombie Dice.
Yeah, Zombie Dice.
He said your pick was bad, Ryan. But
Oh, that's what that meant. Oh.
thanks, Mondo.
I'm going to go with Port Royal. Port Royal is
another
a
Steve
card
Jackson.
game. Another Steve Jackson game. This one, as Steve Jackson does, terrible box, great game.
So bad.
What are you talking about? As a pirate, what are you talking about?
Well, no, the box is like this. It's the same box for every single game.
Yeah, every one of their games. That's all that's in that box.
Yeah.
It's fine. But anyway, Port Royal is such a good pressure luck card game. You're flipping out cards until you feel like stopping or bust. You're trying to get. This is one of those games where when I have 3 ships that are different countries, I have to go for that 4th ship. I have to. It pushes me.
You just got it.
100%. I'm gonna go with. I think all the rest of my games might be 25th century. Here's the first one: is Sausage Sizzle, the newest game from Inca and
or
Marcus.
otherwise known as that Wiener game that we played with Chad.
Schnitzel. Not new at all. This game's like 30 years old. Ian O'Toole turned Chad onto this one. He got the rights for it. Ian did some of the cutest artwork I've ever seen in an Ian O'Toole project before.
Yeah.
And it is real simple. Roll some dice, get some wieners.
Get some wieners.
People are shouting. Yeah, and it's a push your luck. You're trying to score because there's a little hot dogs on the dice and there's little animals.
Cute.
And
that hot dog's very cursed. Wow.
He is.
Cursed
wow. I actually, maybe this is my own ignorance. I only know Inca and Marcus as the Exit game designers. I guess I somehow missed it there.
Older game of theirs that was just German released.
Got it. Do they still make like regular board games, or did they?
That's a good question because I know this one had some years on it.
I only know them as the Exit people.
Chad, any ideas?
Yeah.
Chat.
Yeah.
Well, my next one. This is one of my favorite games of all time as well. Number 3. This is Deep Sea Adventure. I adore this game. I love
also my number 3.
No, twinsies. I love Oink games in general. This is, I was talking earlier about, the risk versus punishment, right? And how Quacks is like, if you explode, it's not the end of the world. Deep Sea Adventure is the opposite. Deep Sea Adventure is very tense. You will lose if you bust every time. You just play over 3 rounds and you're trying to descend into the ocean to get as much treasure as you can. The brilliant thing about Deep Sea Adventure is that it's kind of a collective push your luck game in the sense that you all share the same oxygen tank. So if one person is pushing their luck a lot, it can screw over other people. And that is something that maybe I just haven't played enough games in this genre, but I have not seen that implemented in another game where you're like, push your luck is often like you're doing your own thing, right? And you're basing whether or not to push your luck based on what other people are doing, but they're not directly affecting you. Deep Sea Adventure is a push your luck game where other people's greediness actively affects you, and I think that is brilliant. I love this game.
It's so good. So I have multiple stories behind Deep Sea Adventure. So because you picked it also, I'm going to tell a couple of those stories.
Do it.
So the very first time I ever played Deep Sea Adventure was with Rick White, who is one of the people on our channel who writes with us. And Rick and I were up until 2 a.m. screaming at each other at an Atlanta convention. "You're a terrible person. I hate you," as we were diving into the ocean trying to get treasure. And then the other is I taught this game to my mother-in-law, and she sat there, and I do the same speech every single time I teach this game. Play conservatively in the beginning, you'll get treasure later, don't go too deep. And what people do is they go halfway down and then they die. And I'm like, I told you. What did I tell you? Well, the response my mother-in-law gave was, "This game's broken. How did it get published?"
Well, I have some words for you. I love that you said that, because this is one of my favorite games to teach because of that. Because every time I do the same thing, I go, I mean, I honestly, at this point, I don't even tell people. I let people die the first round because, frankly, you can die in the first round because of the way the points scale. As long as you don't then die the second and third round, you can absolutely win the game. And it's a very fun way to teach people a hard lesson. So I've come around with this game because I used to do exactly that. And now I just don't say anything. I
just don't say anything. Let them die.
I flatly explain the rules and I say, do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
And I love watching newbies always die and go, oh my God. And that hits them. When they die that first round, that affects them and sinks that in better than me telling them ever could.
It really does.
And I hope Oinky did that sort of intentionally, making that first round kind of low stakes, because it works really well to teach it that way.
I rush hard to the end every single time and die. I scored no points in that game ever.
That's so funny. Jason with Quack's Wonderland's War, Can't Stop, Clank, and King of Tokyo.
I forgot about Wonderland's War. Gosh, so good.
It's a good one.
King of Tokyo, another good one. I didn't think about it on there either. Let's go with a very heavy game from 25th. Also, Push Your Luck.
So good.
How about some Ra or Ron, right? Or Razzia and all the things Ra related. But what a great, simple Push Your Luck game. And so easy to teach people. And I think from a learn a Push Your Luck game, this one is like a perfect teach game for people. And this version, and I know I just talked about Ian O'Toole is my favorite artist. This version is gorgeous.
Doing it.
Absolutely gorgeous. Chad knocked it out of the park with that version.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hank comes in with Fill or Bust, Ink and Gold, Can't Stop, Wiener Game. I think he means
Sausage Sizzle.
And King of Tokyo.
Wiener Game works too. It gets the point across.
Yeah.
Love it.
Number 4.
Back to me. I think this has been mentioned by pretty much everyone. I'm going to say Clank.
Yeah,
Clank. I think
it's really good.
Might not always jump to mind immediately because there's a lot of other stuff going on in Clank, but boy, the core of that game is to not get eaten by a dragon, and that is a push your luck mechanic, and I love it. It's a really great way to introduce people to bag building as well, because there's other stuff going on. Unlike Quacks, there's other elements, other moving parts, but I love Clank. It's such a classic.
It's good. Quartz. Quartz is one of my favorite pressure luck games, and it was reissued as Friday the 13th by the Op right here.
Right.
So there we go. Op tie-in. So this is a pressure luck game where you're pulling out of a bag and you're trying to collect certain things. In Quartz, you're trying to collect gems of certain types that have values, and you're trying not to bust by collecting 2 obsidian. And in Friday the 13th, you're trying not to collect 2 Jason heads, which would send you back to camp screaming and losing all of your loot. Quartz has significance in my life because a local TV personality in our community told us that if he received this as a gift, he would burn it in the backyard.
Are we getting any more context or not?
That's it.
That's crazy.
I just think it's one of the funniest things. We're sitting around and the person's wife said, "Hey, I got you this for Father's Day," which was the next day. And he said, "If this was my gift, I would burn it in the backyard."
Wow.
Because he could not get points.
Wild.
There is a new Quartz Dice game that just came out from.
I know Bob has it.
Yeah, I've
and
got
I
it
want it
on my shelf. Yeah,
So.
it's on my need to finish. Oh, what a shock! Ryan picked a Halloween game.
Oh,
Indeed.
come on.
What a shock.
Simon is my Halloween troll.
Yeah,
He starts this junk at the beginning of summer.
It's gonna be so much spooky stuff, and
Oh,
October
man,
is pretty much just Ryan dresses up as a pumpkin for our show for the entire
so
month.
Much. I'm doing a gem art. Hold on.
Are you doing it? You're doing a little art.
Tell us.
Gem art thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Stop! That's so cool.
And look at how little I've done.
Yeah, those take forever, dude.
Oh man, it's gonna be 6 years before I get this done.
My wife ordered a custom Game of Sidekicks one for me with our logo.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I have it.
That's really cool.
Up on our wall over there.
Cool.
Yeah. So what are we on number 4? Speaking of Quartz, this is the Ops OG version of that game. USA Opoly version. This is the Snow White gemstone mining game.
You guys published that twice. I didn't
even know we made that.
Oh, that's USA Opoly still on. Yeah. This is old. This
wow.
is
yeah.
old,
I have no
clue. Print.
I can confidently say I've never seen this game.
Yeah, it's out of print. Yeah.
I want to say like 2016. This is an expensive
That's a cute
game.
tie-in, though. That makes sense. Yeah. I like that. That's a good re-theme.
We're showing very out of print games. Quartz is like $180.
Yeah.
Snow White's over 150.
Oh, Snow White's insane to get because it's
IP, right?
And
I don't know. Do you know if this is still in the store at the Op?
I think it is. But I'm not. Don't quote me on that. That one I know we make. I've never seen the Snow White one. That's fun.
Oh, yeah.
The Op lore goes so deep. We make so many games where I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, there's so many in the history of some amazing games in my collection that I love from the Op, and that's one we'll still pull out and enjoy that pressure luck.
Love that.
All right, last one, number 5.
All right. My last one is No Thanks. I think this is a good game. Calling it pressure luck is like maybe a little bit of a stretch, but it feels very much of that genre, at least in spirit. And it's how do I explain No Thanks in a way that makes any sense? You're trying to get as few points as possible, and every time a card's going to come up and you're going to bid on it, and eventually you're going to have to take it because you only have so many tokens to bid with, and it's all about deciding when to take cards, when to bid, when to pass, and you're trying to push your luck in the sense that you're trying to get runs of cards so that you get fewer points. There's no way to make no sense make sense without without showing you a game, but I love it. It's an oldie, it's a classic. My number 5 is No Thanks.
Yeah, nice. Great game. Great.
I don't know how to. I'm so sorry. That made no sense.
I didn't explain it well.
No, that was really good.
Just take my word for it. Play
take a card or pay chips and get the least amount of points possible.
Yep. And so my 5th one's going to be Strike. Dice in a bowl. Strike is so easy to teach. I taught a mom at game night, and her and her kids played this game for like 30 minutes after I taught her. This is so much fun, and it's easy to bring to. Some of my favorite memories is bringing this to a barbecue or bringing this to game night or around the holidays. Everybody just gathers around the table and screams at each other. Again, another game that encourages screaming.
Yep. And we already talked about this one, but I think it was on both Jason's and Hank's list, but Can't Stop is the classic push your luck. How much dice rolling chucking am I going to do? How far up this chain am I going to take it? Yeah. This is their newest version. I know they put out a myriad of different styles. This one has little wooden meeples. I would tell you if you can find the version with the traffic cones, that is the
traffic cones,
to get. But this one's a new one. It's very cute.
Very cool.
So that's our top 5. Not top 5. That's our pick 5.
Pick 5. So what have we been playing? So Ray, what have you been playing?
I've been playing so much Arcs. Oh my god! I know it's it's probably cliche and everyone's playing it, but I love it. It's so good. Okay.
I've got to give it a try.
You haven't played it?
No, I didn't either. Love Root. I didn't.
I love Root.
What are you hesitant about Arcs? What's giving you pause?
I don't like games with reading in them.
Yeah, I can't read. He brings it up every week now.
Illiteracy will be a barrier, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the style of the game. I just
Sure.
don't know that I'm willing to jump into it. It feels like there's a little bit of weight there that I'm just like, I'm fine. I'm not.
That's
And I don't know.
I see where you're coming from. It's not as heavy as it looks. I think.
Well, yeah, the heaviness. I mean, I just played Inventions
Yeah.
from Eagle Griffin.
Oh,
I mean,
so
that
good.
sucker, it is real good. And it was
Gosh, I
four and
love
a
it
half
so
hours long
much.
our first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm not worried about that. I wonder if it has some of the, I think because of the pedigree,
Sure.
I don't know that I'm going to enjoy it.
That's fair.
So,
That's
yeah.
fair. That's valid.
Yeah.
Also, Becky, thank you for ordering 2 copies of Flip 7.
Oh
I
yeah,
appreciate it. Hope you enjoy it.
awesome,
Man, Flip
awesome.
7
Thank
is
you,
so
thank you.
good. You're going to love that so much. So,
Brian, what are you playing?
what have I been playing? All the games that are around me on the floor and everywhere. So that's what I've been playing. But I would say the 2 games that I'm really enjoying right now, Gnome Hollow right here. Really enjoy teaching that one. And then La Familia Hort from Grand Gamers Guild.
Mhm.
It's got a really tight economy to it. It gives this Courage the Cowardly Dog vibe, the art style, which
Yeah,
is what drew me
100%.
in. We're playing it during spooky season, obviously, but it's a very tight economy, like gardening game.
Yeah,
That's
and it's a
basically
weird
what it is.
gardening. It's a
Yeah,
dark
and
gardening game.
it's
Well, I like that.
your grandmother's ghost is coming back, and she's going to give you her inheritance if you have the coolest garden. It's
love
really
that.
cool. I like it a lot. So
It's got a
yeah,
good October vibe
it
game for
really
Yeah,
sure.
is.
totally.
It really is. So yeah.
I have been playing a lot of River
Rivers
Valley
Valley
Glassworks.
Glassworks. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cute. It's adorable. It's
Yeah.
these pieces in the game are amazing.
And that's the deluxe version. Super
Yeah,
nice.
it's so nice and a lot of different stuff from All Play recently, but that's been my favorite. And I don't want to pick it up because it's on the floor over there and it's so heavy. But the Elder Scrolls from Chip
Oh
Theory,
yeah. Yeah.
I have
Oh,
a pre-production copy of that. We're just kind of starting to like open and get into that. Speaking of video games, paralleling into
yeah.
board games, that game is gorgeous. It is a 4-year love letter to that game that the Chip Theory team has been working on.
That's
It's
really cool.
amazing. So
Nice.
it weighs like 32 pounds. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's a beast.
Have fun moving with that.
I
Yeah.
know. It's so stupid.
Well, so Ray, tell people where they can find you at online and find the games that the op is publishing.
Sure. Yeah. So you can, the best place to hear about our games is on our social media. We're the Op Games most places. We post a lot on Instagram and TikTok if you like short form videos, but we got a Twitter and a Facebook as well. If you're interested in me, you can find me on Twitter at _Raybird_. And I also stream on Twitch sometimes. On Sundays, we were talking about retro games. I have a Twitch channel where I play retro games. So if you want to hang out with me
Nice.
and right now, we're playing some Castlevania Symphony of the Night. We're playing some old school Sims 2 on the PlayStation 2.
Okay.
I play that over at Ray's Retros on Twitch if you want to come
Very
hang
cool.
out.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And I love the TikTok content that you create
Thanks.
for the
Appreciate
op.
it.
Very good
It's
stuff.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. You can find One Board Family all over the place at One Board Family. You can go to oneboardfamily.com. That's where all our written content is. You can find a full written preview for Raw and Right, which is currently on Kickstarter from 25th Century Games. You will be able to, at the end of this week, find the full review for Gnome Hollow.
Nice.
Along with photography for it. It'll be published by the end of the week, and all kinds of other stuff that we talk about. So, yeah, that's about it.
I love it. You can find us at Gaming with Sidekicks on all your different social media platforms. On our website for our written reviews, like Ryan mentioned, we did a little bit for Ron Wright for Razzia. Did my review for Sausage Sizzle, aka the Wiener Game, and
Winter game.
and we have a guest review from Jason, who's here in the chat with us for Cafe Barras.
Yeah,
and,
Cafe Bars is so good.
Yeah, we should have his review coming up for that this week. So lots of
That's
fun
awesome.
stuff over on the channel.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. We one of my favorite parts of doing this, we've been doing this, man. We've been
Episode
doing this.
81.
couple years now.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite parts is the fact that we get really cool guests like Ray on, but we also get to chat with people in the comments and we get to respond. And that's why this show is so much fun to do. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Ray. And thank you for
Thanks for having
everybody
me.
joining us in the comments. And we will see you later.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.